want to bring us back to the point that you were making about exploiting consumer behavior in a consumer internet business. You said that this is a time for soul searching in social media businesses, and you were part of building the largest one. What soul searching are you doing right now on that?
I feel tremendous guilt. I think we all knew in the back of our minds, even though we feigned this whole line of like there probably aren't any really bad unintended consequences. I think in the back, deep recesses of our minds, we kind of knew something bad could happen. But I think the way we defined it was not like this. It literally is a point now where I think we have created tools that are ripping apart the social fabric of how society works. That is truly where we are. And I would encourage all of you, as the future leaders of the world, to really internalize how important this is. If you feed the beast, that beast will destroy you. If you push back on it, we have a chance to control it and rein it in. And it is a point in time where people need to hard break from some of these tools and the things that you rely on. The short-term dopamine-driven feedback loops that we have created are destroying how society works.
That was former Facebook executive Chamath Palihapitiya. His comments were eerily similar to those of Sean Parker, the founder of Napster and early investor in Facebook, who was depicted by Justin Timberlake in the movie The Social Network.
You know, if the thought process that went into building these applications, Facebook being the first of them to really understand it, that thought process was all about how do we consume as much of your time and conscious attention as possible. And that means that we need to sort of give you a little dopamine hit every once in a while because someone liked or commented on a photo or a post or whatever. And that's going to get you to contribute more content, and that's going to get you, more likes and comments. I mean, it's a social validation feedback loop that it's like it's exactly the kind of thing that a hacker like myself would come up with, because you're exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology. And I think that we the inventors, creators, and it's me, it's Mark, it's the Kevin Systerman, Instagram, it's all of these people understood this consciously, and we did it anyway.
Both whistleblowing former Facebook higher-ups claim that Facebook is exploiting vulnerabilities in human psychology.
In the early 1930s, a man named Burrhus Frederick Skinner began to study psychology in a radical new way. See, before him, we only knew how to condition reactions. We could condition a person to be terrified of pumpkins or hungry at the sight of office supplies. But Skinner theorized that you could go one further. He theorized that you could condition volition, that you could change the way that people made choices. So why are we talking about it? Because a vast number of today's games are built upon Skinner's discoveries, and it's starting to become a bad habit. But before I get ahead of myself, let's take a closer look at what Skinner did. Skinner created a machine, a simple box with a button in it, that he would put pigeons in. When the pigeons pecked at the button, the machine would give them food. He then hooked the box up to a recording device, so he could tell how often the pigeons pecked the button. Seems simple enough, so why was this so groundbreaking? Because pecking the button is active. This wasn't just an automatic reaction to stimuli, it involved making a decision. So if Skinner could show that he could consistently change how often the pigeons pecked the button, he could show that he could condition them to make a specific choice. This is called operant conditioning. Now there were two amazing parts to his findings. 1. Operant conditioning works on humans. 2. Simply rewarding someone every time they do an action isn't the best way to keep them continually doing that action. This is all compounded by another discovery of Skinner's research. He demonstrated that primary conditioners, or rewards that are fundamental biological needs, food, water, sex, etc., have a diminishing effect once a person reaches satiation, or the biological limit of their needs. But then there are secondary reinforcers, things outside the biological realm, like money or social approbation. These things generally don't hit a satiation point. You can probably see where we're going with this. The entire design is to condition you to continue to repeat an action that has long since lost its novelty, that has long since become tedious. Actually, before we continue, quick disclaimer. Being conditioned to do an action and being addicted to something are very different.
The first step is to admit you have a problem. Are you a Facebook pigeon? Ooh, a notification. In 2014, Facebook actually admitted to running science experiments to manipulate our emotions.
Let's now turn to Facebook and the news this week that had a lot of users outraged. The social media giant revealed that for 1 week back in January 2012, it allowed researchers to manipulate almost 700,000 users' news feeds. Some saw more positive news about their friends, others saw more negative, and the experiment worked. The people who saw more positive news seemed happier in their own Facebook posts. Now, Facebook sort of apologized this week, but not totally. But this story is so much bigger than that one experiment. I'm intrigued by the larger long-term implications when it comes to user behavior. Can Facebook impact who you vote for example, or what kind of news you see during a big political season?
And of course, there's this patent filed in 2015. Facebook actually uses the cameras on our smartphones to record our emotions as we scroll down the newsfeed. Studies have shown that the use of social media platforms is linked with depression and anxiety. Does the use of social media leave you feeling more fulfilled or more empty inside?
I want to bring us back to the point that you were making about exploiting consumer behavior in a consumer internet business. You said that this is a time for soul searching in social media businesses, and you were part of building the largest one. What soul searching are you doing right now on that?
I feel tremendous guilt. I think we all knew in the back of our minds, even though we feigned this whole line of like there probably aren't any really bad unintended consequences. I think in the back, deep recesses of our minds, we kind of knew something bad could happen. But I think the way we defined it was not like this. It literally is a point now where I think we have created tools that are ripping apart the social fabric of how society works. That is truly where we are. And I would encourage all of you, as the future leaders of the world, to really internalize how important this is. If you feed the beast, that beast will destroy you. If you push back on it, we have a chance to control it and rein it in. And it is a point in time where people need to hard break from some of these tools and the things that you rely on. The short-term dopamine-driven feedback loops that we have created are destroying how society works. No civil discourse, no cooperation, misinformation, mistruth. And it's not an American problem. This is not about Russian ads. This is a global problem. So we're in a really bad state of affairs right now, in my opinion. It is eroding the core foundations of how people behave by and between each other. And I don't have a good solution. My solution is I just don't use these tools anymore. I haven't for years. It's created huge tension with my friends, huge tensions in my social circles. If you look at my Facebook feed, I've posted maybe 2 times in 7 years. 3 times, 5 times. It's less than 10. And it's weird. I guess I kind of just innately didn't want to get programmed. And so I just tuned it out. But I didn't confront it. And now to see what's happening, it really bums me out. It's a really bad state of affairs. And we compound the problem, right? We curate our lives around this perceived sense of perfection because we get rewarded in these short-term signals, hearts, likes, thumbs up, and we conflate that with value and we conflate it with truth. And instead what it really is fake, brittle popularity. That's short-term and that leaves you even more, and admit it, vacant and empty before you did it. Because then it forces you into this vicious cycle where you're like, what's the next thing I need to do now? Because I need it back. Think about that compounded by 2 billion people. And then think about how people react then to the perceptions of others. It's really bad. It's really bad.
It sounds like you're taking deep personal responsibility also in being a part of it.
I did a great job there, and I think that business overwhelmingly does positive good in the world. Where I have decided to spend my time is to take the capital that they rewarded me with and now focus on the structural changes that I can control. I can't control that. I can control my decisions, which is I don't use this shit. I can control my kids' decisions, which is they're not allowed to use this shit. And then I can go focus on diabetes and education and climate change. And that's what I can do. But everybody else has to soul search a little bit more about what you're willing to do, because your behaviors, you don't realize it, but you are being programmed. It was unintentional. But now you got to decide how much you're willing to give up, how much of your intellectual independence. And don't think, oh yeah, not me, I'm fucking genius, I'm at Stanford. You're probably the most likely to fucking fall for it. Because you were fucking checkboxing your whole goddamn life. No offense, guys.
Facebook and social media as a whole has been one of the largest social engineering experiments in human history. People are being conditioned on a mass scale, and they are losing their humanity. Civil discourse has been eroded, and people no longer think for themselves. Instead, they virtue signal for empty, shallow likes and shares from people they never met. We as a society need to admit that we have a problem. And you as an individual need to reevaluate how much time you spend on social media and how much time you allow your children to spend on social media. Many use information like this to call for further government regulation. This is a farce. Facebook and social media has been used as a tool of human enslavement, cognitive enslavement, to the very establishment that runs Silicon Valley and works hand in hand with the United States government and governments all around the world. I advise that you spend substantially less time on social media. The only reason I myself spend so much time on social media is I have turned around the establishment's tool of enslavement and used it as a tool of human awakening. This is why we see so many calls for the censorship of so-called fake news. The establishment's operating system of cognitive control has been turned around against them and used as the ultimate tool of human awakening. So let's only use these tools in ways that empower people. Help me continue the awakening. Post this video on Facebook. Use their own tool against them. Tag 3 people that you're close with in the video. Ask them if they're Facebook pigeons. Want to bet that they'll click on the little red dot? Thanks for watching, guys. If you would like to support my message and gain exclusive access to Patreon-only videos, subscribe at www.patreon.com/FFRnews for as little as $1 monthly. Thank you.